What was the best accidental nudity you've seen in person? Girl I talked to for a little bit then kinda lost touch with sent me pics. I messaged back that it was a nice surprise to hear from her again. Then I put 2 and 2 together and was like, oh, these weren't for me, were they? Never heard back. Ah well. 17 and my girlfriend and I went on a date. We are gone about 1-2 hours and she forgot something at home. So we go back. We have been dating long enough. I get out and we walk into her house together. She lived in a split level, so when you walk in you either go up or down. I ended up in the lead and go up. Halfway up I just stop. Her mom and stepdad are doing the dirty with mom doing a reverse cowgirl facing me. Our eyes locked for a second. My girlfriend pushes me to get me to move and walks past me and sees why I stopped. Her mom pulled a blanket from the sofa to cover up. My girlfriend is yelling at them. I just walked out. The picnic a week later was awkwardly uncomfortable. Dental office was in building across an alleyway from condominium. Lady struts out at her place. Curtains open full view for me as I laid in the dental chair in the dental office. Dentist sees my eyes widened as this suddenly happened. Oh, she must be up already, knowing full well what I'd just seen. Ah yes, this happened at my work. I work at a swimming pool and I was cleaning out the group changing rooms. So I hung up the boards which told people the changing room was unavailable because it was getting cleaned. When I was almost done with it, I took the garbage bag out of the bin and threw it away. When I came back with a new bag, like not even half a minute after, there was this girl in there already completely nude. After a second of comprehending what I was seeing, I turned around and closed the door and continued with some other work. I was in the middle of a 30-mile bike race. 4 laps around this good sized lake. On the opposite side of the lake, a bunch of 20-something women decided to go skinny dipping in full view when 50 cyclists doing 30 mph go flying past. So close to a Tour de France level crash. So close. Just a few months ago I was biking on my CollieFlowerCrust bike on the road around OBX while I was there for a bachelor party in weaving through neighborhoods, multi-use trails, etc. And I come along this sand-side trail with a light coating of sand. I usually just use this bike on gravel and asphalt, but I assume it will be okay on this bit of sand. It was not. I eat shit immediately and dust myself off. I can see the other end of the trail and decide to walk my bike instead of turning back. A few feet away I walk around some foliage and there is a professional looking photo shoot going on with a long-legged model sporting nothing but a smile. I politely smiled, nodded, took some mental pictures, and walked on. It was a good ride. My friend M31 and co-worker flashed me F26 at work. This was years ago. We were working together on the midnight shift at a factory, building a large part for an even larger machine. We were discussing our favorite bands and the ones we've seen in concert. Then we started talking about some of antics we've seen some of these entertainers do, like smashing guitars, crowd surfing, pulling fans on stage, etc. One performer neither of us saw live but heard about was Jim Morrison flashing the crowd. I thought Jim mooned the crowd. My friend decided to demonstrate how the flashing went down, so he hooked his thumbs into his waistband to mime releasing his junk, except he caught his underwear too. Myself and a couple other coworkers got to see the live reenactment in the middle of the shop floor. Oops was all he could squawk out while shoving everything back in place. Those of us who did see were dying of laughter. He apologized profusely and avoided us the rest of the shift. Good times. Playing rugby in secondary school. One of my friends running with the ball gets tackled from behind. He hits the ground face down as the other player tackled him from waist height. My friend's tracksuit trouser and boxers slid all the way down to his ankles. It was a blinding full moon and the tacklee's face. Both teams in hysterics. Good times. Reminds me of something that happened to me when I was doing a rehearsal for a contemporary dance show. There was a bit where I had to crouch down and then spring out into a plank position. Well, I was wearing a knee-length skirt with a stretchy waistband, and as I crouched down I stepped on the hem of it, and when I sprang out into the plank my skirt did not travel with me, and for added fun it pulled down my underwear as well. I dropped to my belly, quickly pulled up everything, and then turned over to find the horrified face of one of the other dancers looking down at me. I changed my costume to a different skirt with a more secure waistband after that rehearsal. Somewhat similar scenario from my childhood. In middle school there was a pantsing phase. Literally just walking up behind people and yanking their pants down. Usually targets who wore basketball or gym shorts or sweatpants. Anyways, one kid was notorious for just constantly doing it in our gym class. Even when we all sort of got over the novelty and sophomoric humor of it to the point where it just got annoying. I will refer to him as a pantser. Anyways, my buddy offered the kid pantster $1 if he pantsed another kid for revenge, but with one stipulation: for the $1 the shorts had to be totally around his ankles. Not just a normal pantsing level but all the way down. He agreed with my friend, following behind him as they approached the target. And when the pantser dropped to make sure the shorts went to the ankles, my buddy shoved him forward into the pantsy, face to ass cheeks, and making the pantsy lose balance and essentially fall and roll around on top of the pantster. It was easily one of the funniest moments in middle school, especially since our gym teacher saw and sent all three, including the innocent kid who got pantsed, to the office to get reprimanded. We were 15 and went to an outdoor pool. My friend forgot she wasn't wearing a bikini top and pulled her shirt off. First time I saw bare boobs live. 12/10 experience. Sometimes, as a middle-aged man, the world feels too much like an ordinary place filled with a drudgery of repetitive tasks. I've done the same trip to the grocery store hundreds of times. I've loaded and unloaded the dishwasher thousands of times. Moving dishes to and from the same spot in an endless loop. Clean, dirty, clean, dirty. I've walked or driven the same path to and from the office countless times. The muscle memory so fine-tuned from repetitions that I can do it on autopilot as my mind drifts or goes blank. But every now and then, I remember back to when I first saw a pair of female breasts, live and in person. And I remember that there is magic in this world. Is this copy pasta? Because if it's not, it should be. It is now. Edit. Sometimes, as a middle-aged man, the world feels too much like an ordinary place filled with a drudgery of repetitive tasks. I've done the same trip to the grocery store hundreds of times. I've loaded and unloaded the dishwasher thousands of times. Moving dishes to and from the same spot in an endless loop. Clean, dirty, clean, dirty. I've walked or driven the same path to and from the office countless times. The muscle memory so fine-tuned from repetitions that I can do it on autopilot as my mind drifts or goes blank. But every now and then, I remember back to when I first saw a pair of female breasts, live and in person. And I remember that there is magic in this world. One of my coworkers was on FaceTime with another one of my other coworkers, and she was just getting dressed in her room. Well, I just so happened to walk by very much unprepared to see her naked. Fortunately, neither one of them saw me, and I'm not bringing this up no time soon. In college, a girlfriend and I were going on a hiking trip. She was packing naked, since she was in her apartment, and we had changed in front of one another so many times that we were comfortable being naked around each other. No big deal. So when I was at the stoplight before her apartment, I texted her where I was, so I should be there soon. I found a parking spot and walked up and knocked on her door. When I opened, she was naked, red and laughing. She was telling what took me so long, and I was confused. So apparently about 2 minutes after I texted her, there was a knock on her door. Since I had just texted her, she assumed it was me and opened the door without thinking. It was 2 Mormons missionaries. Former Mormon missionary here. There was a legend about some missionaries who were knocking on doors near the campus of Old Miss. The students started calling their neighbors and warned them of the incoming visitors. Someone got the idea for everyone to open the door nude. Apparently, those missionaries got through about 6 straight pun intended doors before they retreated. The gravitron at a local fair. It was spinning around and everyone inside was held up against the wall. As you are on that ride, apparently this woman's swimsuit top couldn't take the force and snapped. So this lady, she was held up against the wall with her swimsuit using one shoulder to hang on for dear life, and with her titties flying out of control until the end of the ride. Went to visit a friend who lived in a flat and had a buzzer on the front door downstairs. Someone who was coming out held the door open for me, so I went upstairs and knocked on the door. His girlfriend opened the door naked and my friend was out. She shut the door quickly then opened it again. When she had put something on, she said she thought it was him and didn't seem to mind I had seen her naked. Man. Similar thing happened to me, except it was my girlfriend and I came with my best friend and my girl was changing, and he looked right into her. He was so embarrassed he didn't talk much that evening. My GF leaves her keys in the door at all times since then. This wasn't nudity, but given the context it was pretty racy. I was 16 and played drums at my church. One Sunday we were having a baptism, and there were these 18-year twin girls getting baptized. The church had these white full-length gowns that everyone had to wear for baptism. Well, the twins had decided to each wear their tiny bikinis underneath, and we ended up with quite the wet shirt contest in the middle of Sunday morning service. I was on stage behind the drums and directly facing the baptism. I remember the next week there was a box of brand new dark purple gowns. When I was 7, my family went on vacation with our neighbors. They had a bungalow right next to ours, and I went over there to see my friend. He answered the door and told me to come in, and right as I walked in, his mother was just getting out of the shower. She walked out of the bathroom completely nude to go to her bedroom and I saw everything. I was only 7, so I didn't even know what it all was yet, but I knew it was all good stuff. She saw me, screamed at my friend, and closed the door. My friend just started laughing, which was a nervous tick he did whenever he knew he was in trouble. 25 years later, and I definitely have had a thing for older women most of my life and this is probably why. Me and my friend were riding mountain bikes on some trails. We were probably 12, 13. Had to walk bikes up some steep section. Suddenly 2 dudes get up from behind a bush and start pulling on boxes. We turned around and went downhill as fast as we could, in mild panic. Working in Florida, stayed at a Motel 6. It's a little past midnight and we are hanging by the grimy pool when an argument breaks out in one of the rooms. A bearded biker looking guy stumbles out of the room and walks off. Moments later a lady in a thong with titty tassels walks out yelling at him that he owes her money. She must have loaned him some money earlier in the day. Posted this before, but it's a funny story about accidentally being naked in public. My wife and I went camping with our 2 kids in the Adirondacks 2 weeks ago. After 2 days of sweaty swimming in the lake, sleeping in the tent camping, we decided it was time to go to the campground shower facility. We were all pretty stinky. My wife takes our 4-year-old daughter with her into the girls' side and I take our 2-year-old son. He's an adorable little chunky kid, and like most 2-year-olds he finds most things funny. More on that later. The place had 25 stalls and the whole facility was empty. I identified a shower stall, put all of our shower crap and therefore cleaning our respective undercarriages, and set to undressing the boy. He's naked and inspecting the water coming down from the shower head. I can see that he's interested in the cascading water and I know from past experience that I have at least 10 seconds before he's distracted and moves on to the next thing. So I get undressed and turn around to enter the shower with him. He's gone. I step out of the stall, naked, and I don't see him. I look in the next stall which is empty and he's not there. Then I look up and he's running to the exit about 20 feet away. And here's where I made my mistake. I ran after him thinking I could get him. I do the best dad voice I can muster and command him to Oscar. Stop. He's giggling and looking back, not even slowing down. And then he's out the door and I'm still 5 feet behind him. I had no choice but to follow him out into the parking lot in all my birthday sweeted glory. There was no time to turn back and get a towel. It was a sunny afternoon. There was one car other than ours, and I will forever remember the look on that poor woman's face. She was sitting in the passenger seat, alone in the car. I was 10 feet away from her. A completely naked 39-year-old man, running after a smaller, cuter version of myself. She did the only thing she could pretend it wasn't happening. She was good too at pretending. But we both know what she saw, and I'm sure she's telling her side of the story back at her campsite too. When I caught the little giggler I couldn't help laughing out loud. I turned back to carry him inside, covering my private parts with his little white body. Too long didn't read. I had to surrender my dignity for my son's safety. At 14 I lived with my brother 24 and his then wife. Bro needed help working on a clunker boat someone sold him and had it set up just outside his bedroom window. Not entirely relevant, but makes the mix up funnier. My brother and I have similar builds and features as siblings do, with one notable exception. I'm biracial and he's white. Sol didn't realize he had me out there with him, and since it was poorly lit didn't notice the skin difference, so she pulls the blinds up while standing there naked as she knocks on the glass. We were both in for a surprise when I popped up. He comes walking around the corner to catch the end of what's happening and just falls down laughing. We had some awkward dinners and rides home, since she was the one I was around most. And then like 3 weeks later it got even more awkward when they had to help me with a testicular issue. Not accidental paresy, but I was not meant to be there to see it. So, I was on holiday in Oslo and there is a park that is littered with statues of naked people, different materials, all sculpted by the same artist, Gustav Vigeland. That bit of the park is accordingly named Vigelandsenlegget. The biggest group of sculptures is a monolith, which features an obelisk made of people, surrounded by stairs on all sides, and blocks topped with statues become the stace in different segments. As I take in the site and take my time to surround it, summer rain starts, and most tourists run for cover. Not me. I got a raincoat with me. 2 rather attractive American tourists, both women, remain as well, along with some guy. They both pull down their tops and lift their skirts for a few pictures, probably to blend in with the statues. I liked it, and at the same time it was very weird. I was new at a job and needed to go ask my boss a question. She was being measured for a gown in the back room and I walked in. She was standing there in nothing but white panties while the tailor was measuring her. I wanted to play it cool, but averted my eyes quickly, and instead of asking a question I sounded like a bashful goofy impersonation. "Oh gosh." She just crossed her arms and waited, and I cleared my throat and asked where something up front was kept. Didn't bother covering anything, just answered my question, and I thanked her and left. I could hear them rolling laughing after I left. How embarrassing. It was my first job after leaving my very conservative small town as a young adult, and the moment I realized that in this area I'm more old-fashioned than most people. We normally made jokes and would flirt with each other, but casual nudity was very surprising. I was maybe 14, 15 years old. Our local community pool had a swim team competed with other neighborhoods. At our pool, the lockers room split for men's women's. On the right was the men's. On the left was the women's. Well, we went to a competing neighborhood pool and it was opposite right left. I walked right into the women's lockers room after a swim meet. Room was full of girls about my age and older, all naked or near naked. I froze at the sights. All the girls started screaming and I bolted. I got into a lot of trouble and tried to explain my mistake. Was kicked off the team that summer, but it was worth it. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.